We welcome to Sports Talk Ross Smith, the General Manager and Director of Golf at Harbor Shores in Benton Harbor, Michigan. Ross, how's it going up there?
Pretty good, Danny. Nice talking to you.
I know some Maysville folks were up there a few weeks ago for your daughter's wedding. That had to be a big event.
It was a big event. That's my second daughter got married. Both of them were born in Maysville, and Maysville's got a soft spot in my heart. I love the community, and it's always fun when I get to come back and visit and see some friends.
Let's just talk about growing up in Maysville, learning to play golf at Maysville Country Club.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's not a better place to grow up in the world, and of course, I thought Maysville Country Club was Augusta National when I was growing up. It's a great place, but it's a big wide world out there. But when you're a little boy growing up, I couldn't have had a better place to learn to play the game of golf.
Who was the pro back when you were growing up?
The one and only Bill Goldsmith, who was a great guy, a good player, and a wonderful man. And I think of him periodically, and I think everybody who lives in Maysville all have a soft spot in their heart for Goldie. He was quite the guy.
You played at Mason County and Morehead State and had success at both places.
Well, and I don't know if anybody young is listening to this, but golf's an interesting game, and you kind of go through a series of things, thinking whether or not you can play. And I was a decent player in high school, and we had a pretty good little golf team. Of course, Jim Striplin won the state individual tournament when he was a junior, and I played with him for 4 years. And somewhere between my senior year, before I went to college, I played in Junior Chippeways there, and at that time, and I know it still goes, but it was probably the most prestigious junior tournament in the state. And I ended up shooting 66, 68, 73, and broke the course record by 6 shots and won by 6 shots. And that kind of flipped the switch for me, that instead of me thinking everybody else was good, that maybe I had a little bit of talent. So that kind of springboarded me into my college career at Morehead State.
I was thinking about the Junior Chippeways and junior golf when I was getting ready to call you. How much it's changed. There's so many junior tours now, but back then, I mean, people came from all over the state to play in the Junior Chippeways.
Right, and you kind of got to go back and thank Gene Downing and Ray Rayburn. It was kind of their vision of starting this tournament, and both of them worked it real hard and did a great service to the community of Maysville, and brought all these guys there. And I'm not sure how many years they've been having Junior Chippeways now, but my hat's off to them, because they started something really special in our community.
And then how big of a deal was it to win the Chippeways?
Well, of course, that was the Masters for us all back there in Maysville, and the fact that I won it twice, I still take great pride in it. And periodically, if I ever come back to town, I usually walk by that board. There's nothing better than seeing your name up on something that you did when you were younger. And the Chippeways is a fabulous tournament. The fact of the players that have come through there over the years, and not only Junior Chippeways. I mean, you got Jody Mudd and Bobby Nichols and Frank Beard, different people that played in the tournament and won there. So it's a great event. It's a prestigious thing, and I know the people that are in Maysville really look forward to playing in that every year.
And then you returned to the club as the pro.
I did. I after graduated from college at Morehead, and I was the assistant pro for Jack Barber at Lexington Country Club for 3 years. And then I had an opportunity to come back to Maysville, where I grew up, and I was a pro there for 7 years, and it was 7 wonderful years. And I had an opportunity from Jack to go to a club up in South Bend, Indiana, and went up there and spent 17 years as the golf professional at South Bend, which was great, as where my kids grew up. The fact that Eric Parzigan was a member out there, and the things I got to do as also the women's golf coach at Notre Dame for 8 years during my reign as the golf professional there. And then my friend Jack gave me another call, and I went down to Sagamore, which is a Jack Nicklaus Signature golf course in Indianapolis, and I spent about 3.5 years there. The gentleman that took me down there had already started working on a project up here in Michigan, Mark Hazeman, and so after 3 years I moved and came up to from a ground zero start point where the golf course wasn't even done, and started here in May of 2009. We opened 10 holes later that year. In 2010, we opened up the whole golf course. We had Jack Nicklaus, Johnny Miller, Tom Watson, and Arnold Palmer here for the grand opening, which still to this day is one of the most fabulous things I've ever been a part of. So now I've been here 6 years. been amazing is that we held the 2012, the 14, the 16 this year Senior PGA Championship presented by KitchenAid. Now they've extended the contract, and now instead of being presented by KitchenAid, it's now going to be now known as the KitchenAid Senior PGA Championship. Extend the contract, and we're going to have that in 18, 20, 22, and 24. So every 2 years, the best Champions Tour players come to our facility here and play in a tournament here, which again has been a lot of fun for me to see the people I grew up watching on television, and now they come to my facility, and I watch them hit balls and obviously work a little bit during the event, but it's been very exciting.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit more about the Senior PGA and Harbor Shores, but I want to go back when you were a pro and working with some of the young guys here. I played golf with Eric Schumacher the other day, and I said, who'd you work with, Eric, coming up? And you're a name that he mentioned, and, of course, he's gone on to win the Chippeways 5 times now.
He is a nice young man, big, tall guy, can really hit it a long way. You know, the other guy that there was lots of good players that came through there. Mark Blakefield, you know, you can probably talk about his success. I remember my first year at South Bend Country Club. Ward brought Mark up to take a golf lesson from me. He was only about 9 or 10 years old. He could already hit it a long way back then. So, you know, Maysville's a great golf community. And, you know, with where things are, kids are busy these days. And you know, living in a small town, there's not a better place for your child to grow up, whether it's out at Kenton Station or now Laurel Oaks or Maysville Country Club. But if they kind of catch that bug, Danny, just like basketball's king down there. We all know that. And that's another great thing about the Mason County and the community there. But if you can get a kid hooked when he's 6, 7, 8 years old and he takes an interest in it, you know, the good thing about golf, you can play it until you're up into your 80s. My father-in-law, Wayne Poe, plays more golf now. He's 84 years old. He can shoot his age. And so golf is not only great for activity and for recreation, but it also business helps you in business if you can play a credible game. So, you know, I'm a strong advocate. I've been a PGA member for 30 years. I'm really fortunate to have been a part of that association. And, you know, golf fallen on some hard times, you know, because a lot of different reasons. But I think it's on the rebound. And it all starts at the grassroots with the kids, getting them started early, and the game will go on forever.
We're talking to Ross Smith, and let's go back to South Bend a little bit. You mentioned Notre Dame, and I know Fred Hester got to come up and go to Coach McLeod's basketball practice one day.
He sure did. Another great guy. You know, Notre Dame's a very interesting. You know, football's king, and but the basketball team actually has done very well over the last 8 or 10 years. It was nice to be part of that organization, see what they do on a yearly basis, and you know, Fred was up there, and he's a big basketball guy, a dear friend, and it's always been fun to have people come up and visit and go to a Notre Dame football game or a basketball game or something along those lines.
Now let's get back to Harbor Shores. I saw a couple of features online, really part of an old city dump. What a reclamation project.
Well, what really happened here is that Whirlpool Corporation, the global headquarters, is here, and back in the late 70s and early 80s, all the jobs went away. They went to the southern part of the United States, and so this land sat here dormant for about 25 years, and again, one of our holes, our 15th hole, was a city dump. The 14th hole was a Mercury Superfund cleanup site. And so the two CEOs, Dave Whitwam, who's on his way out, and Jeff Fettig, who is now the current CEO, kind of used East Lake down in Atlanta as kind of a template to go down and look what they did there. So their idea was to take this 530 acres, which it's hard to believe it's right in between. It's in 3 different cities, and it's right downtown. To take this 530 acres and have Jack Nicklaus come in and build a signature golf course to be an economic enabler to try to bring the city of Benton Harbor back to where it once was. Benton Harbor's fallen on hard times. There's a river that runs in between St. Joe and Benton Harbor. You know, Benton Harbor's 98% black. It's one of the probably the poorest cities in the state of Michigan, whereas St. Joe is a community on the other side of the river. And what it's tried to do is try to integrate these two cities together and become a stimulus to probably bring back tourism to this area. You know, we've got a brand new hotel, an 8-story hotel with 100 rooms there. It's been built. There's probably about 80 to 100 home sites that have gone on. We're starting another parcel next to the hotel right now. And anybody that would come here wouldn't believe what it looked like when they started. So I take my hat off to the Whirlpool Corporation and Jeff Fettig. Not only did he do that, but he has a fundraiser every year where he's raised about $15 million And what they've taken and done with that money is they built a brand new state-of-the-art Boys and Girls Club in downtown Benton Harbor. They built a teen center across the street from the high school. And then we have a First Tee Academy and program here at our facility where about 700 or 800 kids go through the First Tee program every year, which is, again, it's a grassroots type of thing, getting people interested in golf. So I've been pretty fortunate in my time. I've been at a lot of nice places. But I will tell you that I think I've got probably the most interesting and the most rewarding job here at Harbor Shores, because it's about golf, but it's about giving back. It's about trying to bring a community back. And so things are really good here. It was fun to have all the people up for the wedding. I would have liked for them to be able to see a little bit more of the golf course, so everybody was kind of in a hurry. But it's a fabulous place.
You talked about the grand opening in 2010 with those legends there, and I read a story online about Jack Nicklaus's 100-foot putt. Tell that story for our listeners.
Well, it's still probably the most exciting thing I've ever seen in my life. They were playing a two-man scramble and changing partners every 6 holes, and there was $1 million that they were donating back to charity. And so when they got to the 10th hole, which is about a 540-yard par 5 that starts on top of the hill, goes into a valley to a green that's 10,500 square feet, the largest green Nicklaus has ever built. Arnold and Johnny Miller were on the very front of the green. It's a 3-tiered green, and they knocked it on in 2, and they started giving Jack a hard time about all the undulations in this green. And actually, people can Google that. They can go to YouTube and put in Nicklaus's 100-foot putt to see it. And so Arnold hit the first putt. It came back to his feet, and then Johnny Miller started hollering for his son to bring his 60-degree wedge. He was going to take a divot out of the green to hit it to the upper tier. And Mr. Nicklaus wasn't going to have any part of that, so he walked down there and told Johnny, "Here, step aside. I'll show you what it's like, what it's possible." And he'd never been on the golf course before, never hit a putt on that green before, and he hits it and he rolls up and it goes in the hole. And I mean, the crowd just went crazy. And we've got a sculpture on behind the green designating what happened that day. But it's still one of the great things that I've ever been able to witness in golf.
And I saw where you talked about playing around with Colin Montgomery.
I've been pretty fortunate. I've played with him 3 times in the last year and a half. And, as a golf professional or even just a regular amateur, you like to put yourself against the best and see how good they are. And I found out how good he really is. He kind of got a bad rap years ago. He was interviewed 2 years ago and said, what happened with you and the American golf public? And he said, I gave them an inch and they took a mile. But over the years, he's softened, and he is one of the fine people you'll ever meet. And I've enjoyed my time playing with him. And he hits it awful good. He putts it awful good. And he's one of the few people that is probably the only person that's undefeated in Ryder Cup competition. He had one tie, but any other match he's always won. He's obviously the Ryder Cup captain before, and what's a guy from Maysville get a chance to rub elbows or play golf with Colin Montgomery? That's how fortunate I've been in my career.
In this job, how much teaching do you do now?
Not as much as I'd like. I probably give 5 to 10 lessons a week because I've got other responsibilities, being the general manager here, overseeing the golf course and the food and beverage operation. So, I'd like to teach more. That's what I enjoy the most. But it's been rewarding trying to figure out, looking at spreadsheets and budgets, and it keeps me pretty busy. And again, we have to be financially responsible. We haven't quite turned the corner on this property as far as being profitable yet, but it's a work in progress, and it's something we strive for every day.
Talk about how teaching has changed over your career. I know TrackMan is huge right now.
Yeah, actually, Baz was up here for the wedding, and I slid him on that. I don't think he'd seen that before. Everything in the past was pretty much just basics and a golf professional's eye, but they've gotten things so sophisticated now. We've got V1, we can videotape, and we can also use TrackMan, and it gives you the absolute data that you can show to somebody that's taking a lesson so they can really understand what they're doing. And so it's fabulous, and anybody that lives around Maysville, there's golf stores that probably have it, but it's really good to be able to see the ball fly instead of going into a net. But things are pretty sophisticated, but it goes back to the basics of golf. But that's a real good reminder for people and very helpful for them to see what exactly is going on in their golf swings.
The big golf news this week is Tiger Woods is coming back next month. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I never found myself to be a Tiger fan early, but then all of a sudden every tournament I watched, I found myself pulling for him. And so, what he did over a stretch of 8 or 10 years was phenomenal. I don't know if at one time it looked like it was almost a lock that he would beat Nicklaus's major championship record. He's fallen on some hard times. As hard as he goes at it, it's been hard on his body. He had some other personal problems, but everybody makes some mistakes. I think it would be great for golf as a whole if Tiger could come back, and I don't know that he can win another major, but I think that it would be good if he came back and at least became competitive again and won a couple more tournaments during his career. We also had David Faraday up here for the Whirlpool Golf tournament that we have, and he talked about Tiger, and he has a great deal of respect for him. There's a lot of things that Tiger, some people like him, some people don't, but the people that know Tiger personally think the world of him. There's a lot of things he does behind the scenes that people don't ever know, that the press doesn't report on. So I wish him the best, and I hope he does come back, and I hope he is successful.
And a lot of these young golfers have really kept the interest in golf up. Jordan Spieth, Jason Day, Johnson, on down the list. Bubba, there's a whole list of golfers out there that are keeping it interesting.
Yes, and it's we went through a slow time after Tiger was down, but golf's at it. Is at a peak. Got the Ryder Cup coming up here at the end of the month. Up at Hazeltine, and so it should be interesting. I'm not sure. I've been lucky. I've met with the CEO of the PGA and the president of the PGA, and I was actually playing with Colin Montgomery, and we were waiting on one of our tee shots, and I told him, I said, I don't know why we keep having these Ryder Cups in these northern areas like Whistling Straits or Rochester, New York, or Hazeltine, because these Europeans are used to playing in bad weather with rain suits on and cold. I said, if you remember the last time that we won the Ryder Cup, it was at Valhalla, so I'm trying to tell them that we need to get that thing south of the Mason-Dixon line where the temperature's warm and the golfers will play their best, and then I think the Americans would have their best chance to win.
The Olympics were fun, too, especially that last day, that last round.
It was interesting. It was real interesting. Some of the players pulled out because of some concerns, whether it was security or the Zika. But I think that anything we can do to grow the game and get young people interested in it, I think it's a plus. And so, it was fun to watch. It really was.
Ross, great to talk to you, and we enjoyed the stories, and maybe we'll have you on down the road too. Thanks a lot.
I really appreciate it. Say hello to everybody down there in Maysville for me. Greatest town in America.
That's Ross Smith.